On News 5 Live, PM Barrow unleashes on the leader of the opposition with a lengthy letter. The National Trade Union Congress of Belize positions for a national demonstration on Thursday. It makes 6 demands. 3 murders over the weekend. 2 men are gunned down in separate shooting incidents in Hattieville, and a 17-year-old is murdered in a gang-related shooting in Belize City. The court hears arguments to allow Lord Michael Ashcroft to join the case of redistricting brought by the Belize Peace Movement. And a Santander employee drowns in the Belize River on Saturday. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
In life, there's always 2
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Monday, February 17th. I am Marlene Cuellar. Reeling from the Saldivar scandal, Prime Minister Barrow has unleashed on the leader of the opposition in a lengthy and stinging letter, calling John Briceño and the PUP the most outrageous hypocrites and frauds ever known in modern politics and the governance of our country. At the core of Barrow's anger is Briceño's letter on the recent ruling by the Supreme Court, in which the Prime Minister was found to have acted unconstitutional, as well as other issues. On the matter of supplementary appropriations, which was a case taken to the court, Barrow says that the supplementary appropriations were fully debated and overwhelmingly approved by Parliament during the PUP administration. According to Barrow, all UDP and PUP-sponsored supplementary appropriations were done at a time when both parties were certain that the Constitution expressly permitted prior spending and subsequent parliamentary approval. Barrow also rants about the Petrocarib issue raised by Briceño, saying it drives a further nail in the coffin of Briceño's disingenuousness. Barrow recalls that when the UDP passed the Petrocarib Loans Act, he sought leave so that the amount being borrowed on a continuous basis under the Venezuela program could never be known beforehand, and so could not command prior approval. The PM says that he also kept the House updated on what was spent. Barrow states, quote, "As I went through your letter and its tissue of transparent innuendos and falsehoods, its whited sepulchre nature, I was especially struck by something. And it is the unfathomable effrontery and gall of your sending your jeremiad to the international financial institutions," unquote. Barrow says that because of the PUP's serial misdeeds and utter lack of transparency and accountability regarding World Bank funds, it was his administration that restored lending with the bank. As to the court ruling, the PM states that his government considers the Chief Justice's ruling entirely unsatisfactory and says it will be appealed, even though government's attorneys admitted the spending was unconstitutional. In respect of the 6-month suspension of his injunction, he says the government won't be seeking any constitutional amendment anytime soon, so any conditions for support is a charade so that Briceño is on a fool's errand. Barrow ends by taking on the issue of contracts, saying they went to the Solicitor General. 2 demonstrations are taking place in the next few days against the government. The People's United Party will take to the city streets on Sunday, but before that, the unions announced today they will also stage one. The National Trade Union Congress of Belize will flex its muscles on Thursday with a protest through the streets of Belize City. The powerful umbrella union, which includes the BNTU, the PSU, and other unions, is positioning itself to have 6 demands met by the Barrow administration. The event will be the launch of NTUCB's campaign, "Only the People Can Save the People." And Thursday's demonstration is in response to the corruption and flagrant mismanagement of the public's money that have been plaguing Prime Minister Barrow and his government. The latest UDP minister to be accused of gross wrongdoing is former National Security Minister John Saldivar, who after intense public pressure finally admitted that he received money from fraudster Lev Derman as campaign financing. The unions say it is enough and time to take action. On Saturday, the NTUCB's General Council met to plot the way forward in their efforts to bring an end to the corrupt practices within the government. The demonstration begins at 10 o'clock at Constitution Park. President Marvin Mora says the march is not aligned to any political party, but rather to the people.
This is the beginning towards a movement that we hope everybody would appreciate and understand. One, that it is a movement that is needed, that is necessary, that should have happened already. 2, that is a non-aligned movement to any of the major or even the smaller political parties. And 3, that it must be and it has to be a movement driven by the people and for the people. We want to be clear here, right? Our issues are not directly against any political party, all right? We want to ensure that we all understand our position. The issues raised here are issues of governance. We have to be conscious of the fact that corruption at any level cannot be fully taken out of commission. But it can be brought down to a significant level that is acceptable.
We are looking at a campaign titled, "Only the People Can Save the People." And if we will save this country, then we must join efforts and we must fight to do so. And that is why we are starting our campaign.
The NTUCB has in no way been encouraging or wants to encourage violation of any of our laws, nor we are encouraging any acts of violence against any citizen or against anybody in this country. We want to be emphatically clear about that. What we're encouraging is a peaceful revolution.
The NTUCB is making urgent 6 demands on the government to address before any elections are called. The Congress wants campaign financing laws to be implemented and is also clamoring for the Senate Select Committee immigration report, as well as for the UNCAC Steering Committee to reconvene and move the UNCAC process forward. President Mora says that the NTUCB is ready to negotiate with the government.
No elections until the implementation of all campaign financing laws that mandates A, all existing and aspiring politicians to disclose the source of their campaign finance exceeding $1,000 be released. B, to establish limits on campaign contributions from individual donors and organizations, in quotes, one-time deposits as well as annual cumulative contributions, example $4,000 be released, close quote. And C, politicians and political parties disclose an official donors list during campaign periods. 2, no elections until the reconvening of meetings for the UNCAC Steering Committee, adoption of recommendation from executive summary, and begin procedures for second phase of the UNCAC process. 3, no elections until that the Senate report on the Immigration Department is tabled and for police investigations and convictions where illegal actions are reported. 4, no elections until the restructuring of the Integrity Commission and the Public Accounts Commission for reduced government influence in roles and responsibilities due to political appointees and for more efficient oversight on government spending. 5, no elections until the implementation of sanctions or penalties for individuals found liable and or who contravened, violated, or did not comply with the provisions of the Finance and Audit Reform Act number 12 of 2005. We are not willing, we are not going to be able to continue to support an administration in place not addressing these very doable issues within the months to come. We have from here all the way to February for the government to address these properly. And we believe that they have more than enough time for them to sit down with us and dialogue and let us know when they can address these. And if they have any issues in regards to any one of these items that we place forward, the NTUCB is not going to play hard head if the factors that they present to us are soluble factors. But we also have our own people that we will have to listen to along the way, and they are the ones that will be guiding this movement.
There are those persons who are clamoring for elections to be called now. And so what we are saying then is that unless these matters are addressed, We don't want to hear anything about the elections now. We want to hear this address first. Remember, we have had this experience before.
That is right.
Where in 2005 and 2000 thereabout, promises were made that things were going to be corrected. And in fact, they came and they actually joined our parades. And what we've had now, after all these years, is that none of those promises that were made, even put in the manifestos, have not been implemented. And so what we want to do is avoid that situation by saying, listen, we want these things to be addressed even before we have to talk about elections. Because the person talk about elections and they want elections now, and they want, in our opinion, to capitalize on what's happening and get into power without actually doing some of these basic things that we want to see done.
The last time the unions collectively took to the streets was in 2005 when the PUP was in government. The Saldivar scandal has stirred widespread anti-corruption calls and prompted the unions to activate. An investigation into the allegations of bribery and corruption dealings involving the disgraced former minister is among the list of demands of the National Trade Union Congress of Belize, though the call for no elections until demands are met appear to go against the grain.
No elections until the start of an independent investigation into alleged wrongdoing by former Minister of National Security, Honorable John Saldivar, and all other named public officials, public servants, and individuals. Amongst other discussions of those recent events in relation to Honorable John Saldivar and his name being mentioned, and of course some evidence of sort being provided, we believe that it is high time that this matter be addressed properly and in a manner that would give back the integrity to the democratic process of elections in our country.
As we said, the theme of Thursday's demonstration by the NTUCB is "Only the people can save the people." While the union is not joining the PUP in its demonstration, today it made a call for members of the public to join the march. Senator Elena Smith says that the demonstration is not solely focused on the Saldivar scandal, but on governance on a whole.
We're open for any organization that wants to come along and join us, as long as they understand our movement is a people's movement. We have, our demonstration is open. We will have to have discussions both with those people who have already expressed interest in joining the NTUCB, and also along with our General Council, the major body. You know. So yes, the option is open. We will have to look at what will be their position as well. So we have discussions pending with them, which should happen very shortly as well, because they have indicated that they want to meet with the NTUCB as well.
We are calling on all our partners, other social partners, students, the public in general.
Public, yes.
Because as Brother Mora mentioned earlier, this is not a fight against a particular party or government. It's about the governance and it's about our country. And for that reason, we are saying that all persons who are concerned about what is happening in the country, putting the matter of Mr. Saldivar aside and looking at all the other issues that we have, we're not focusing on that one point, but we're focusing on governance on a whole.
On February 14th, John Saldivar finally admitted that he received monies from fraudster Lev Derman, just as Jacob Kingston had testified in the U.S. District Court of Utah. Days earlier, Saldivar went on to become victorious in the UDP Leadership Convention, defeating Education Minister Patrick Faber, who later resigned as Deputy Prime Minister. After intense public pressure and suspicion, and in light of text messages and sworn testimony, Saldivar wrote his side of the story late on Friday, which did not give time to study it carefully. The embattled former defense minister wrote a 2-page, 816-word press release in which he admitted that he did receive monies from Derman as campaign financing. Saldivar says he does not remember the messages and says that the legitimacy of the messages is highly suspicious. These text messages are what the U.S. prosecutors presented in court, and it bears Saldivar's local cell phone number. Saldivar, however, maintains he was never bribed by Derman and points out that he was never part of any discussion to move any money from the United States to Belize and never involved in any act of corruption or wrongdoing. But one has to question, how is it that Saldivar, who according to Kingston was given stacks of cash by Derman, was able to exit the U.S. and enter Belize with that amount of money? Saldivar also confirms that his political colleagues also received monies from Derman. He says, quote, that I did receive campaign contributions from Lev Derman, just like many other politicians on both sides of the aisle who knew Lev Derman, unquote. According to the text messages, 4 of Saldivar's candidates were recently successful in conventions. The question now is, who are the other UDP politicians who benefited from Derman and his money? During a cabinet session, Prime Minister Dean Barrow asked his ministers if they had received monies. They responded, no. Saldivar says he hid the fact because he would have been forced to withdraw from the leadership race, and that would leave his colleagues demoralized and exposed to Patrick Farber. Saldivar justifies taking monies from Derman by saying that if politicians are going to be held criminally liable when they accept financial contributions from persons who later on turn out to be criminals, then all politicians are in jeopardy of one day being considered a criminal for having taken an innocent contribution. He goes on to attack members of his party by saying that, quote, there's some politicians, even in my party, who are pretending sanctimoniously that they don't, unquote. Coming up, 3 murders over the weekend in Hattieville and Belize City.
Belize's economic growth is in large part
A 17-year-old girl was murdered on Sunday night as she played cards along with friends at a house on Glen Street in Belize City. Kyla Young is the second person to be killed violently among her family members. It is not known if she was the intended target, but investigators say it was a gang-related murder. Young told her mother she was going to Bermudan Landing, but never did, and was killed one day later. Two others were also injured, and Selma Flores is hospitalized in a critical condition, while John Peters is in a stable condition. News 5's Dwayne Moody has the following report.
A teenage girl was gunned down inside a property on Glen Street adjacent to the Salvation Army Primary School. Kyla Young was hanging out with several other persons inside a yard when a gunman approached and opened fire. Selma Flores and John Peters were also injured and rushed to the Carl Hushner Memorial Hospital, where they remain receiving treatment. Kyla, however, was struck multiple times and laid dead on the floor. Melanie Young says she learned of the incident and hurried to the hospital to find her daughter's body in the morgue.
I was at home watching the NBA Stars game with my uncle and the rest of my family. And a young man came and said my daughter was crying at church. So I said something probably happened to her, so I didn't take it as anything. So two young men came from through the alley in front of me that knows my daughter, and they asked me, "Where is Kyla?" I said, I don't know. The young man, they came out the alley again and said, "Go and check on your daughter at the hospital." So I became nerve-wracking like before, and I went and I went to by the drugstore to see if I can get a ride or something, and they said two young men were looking for me in a car. So I came back and they said they're going to take me to the hospital. So when I got there, all and behold, I asked, "Where's my daughter?" And nobody was answering me, and I was complex to find her dead. I only could saw her hair, and I collapsed.
Melanie says she last spoke with Kyla on Saturday when she said she was going to Bermudan Landing for the weekend. She does not know what her daughter was doing in that area or who she was with.
I don't know. They said that she was in the yard playing cards. I don't know. Because the police haven't come to us as yet. And that's all I have, little sketchy reports.
The persons that she was with were her friends?
I got no idea.
Does she normally frequent that area where she was?
Really and truly, I don't know, right? Because she told me that she was going to Bermuda Landing, and they said they didn't actually get to go there. And all while my daughter told me, "I'll see you," and that was it.
But Kyla was at the Glen Street property socializing. At a press briefing held today by the police department, Senior Superintendent Gilberto Romero says that Flores is in a critical condition at the KHMH.
All three persons were hanging out at a yard on Glen Street, Belize City, when person or persons unknown came and fired several shots towards their direction, causing the injuries to John Peters and Selma Flores and the fatal injuries to Kyla Young. And Selma Flores is admitted at the KHMH in a critical condition, and John Peters is in a stable condition.
While it is not believed that Kyla was the target of the shooting, police say that the incident is gang-related.
Yes, we have that information that it is as a result of ongoing rivalry with two groups in that area.
And was Ms. Young the target?
We are not sure if she was the target. She was at that location when the shooting happened.
It is yet another tragedy that the Young family is grappling with. Melanie says that they are still reeling from the murder of her brother Kareem Clark, the reporter who was killed in cold blood back in July of 2015. According to Melanie, Kyla was psychologically affected by the loss of her uncle. She dropped out of school and started to rebel. Despite efforts to get her counseling, she would run away and at one point ended up living with a cousin. She later returned to their home on Freetown Road. In her interview, Melanie expressed the pain of a mother wanting to protect her children.
I love my children. My children can tell you. I work very hard to let them be comfortable, you know. I talk with them every day. The only thing I didn't get to tell them after was that I love them, but they knew that I love them. Hi, whosoever do this to my daughter, I forgive, you know. Just like how I forgive the person who killed my brother, Kareem. Same way, because we are God-fearing people.
Several persons have since been detained in connection with this murder, and police have put in place additional resources in the area. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Police in Hattieville are investigating 2 murders. The first happened a little before 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, and the victim is Ronnie Anderson of the New Site area. Anderson was riding a bicycle and was not far from his house when he was approached by a gunman who fired several shots at him. Anderson fell to the ground and was rushed to the KHMH, where he died while undergoing treatment. The Anderson family believes that his past may have caught up with him. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
There were 2 murders recorded in Hattieville village on the morning of February 15th. They occurred within minutes of each other, and one of them within view of the police precinct in the village. Ronnie Anderson was gunned down in the New Site area of the village, about 3 blocks from where he lived with his family. News 5 has learned that he was riding a bicycle when a gunman took aim at him. This area, covered with sand, is where Anderson hemorrhaged before he was rushed to the KHMH. Ronnie died while receiving treatment.
To me, it was ambush, understand? And I think that is all I can say right now. I don't really have no clue or nothing like that, who did it, and I don't even want to know who did it. We live where, for we family is good people, you know, so we don't want justice or not. We leave it to God.
Anderson was no stranger to the law. Senior Superintendent Alberto Romero says that several persons have been detained in connection with this homicide. He says that the investigation so far has revealed that the killer approached Anderson from behind.
Around 9:50 a.m., police visited an area in the Belizean American New Site area of Hattieville, where they observed Ronnie Anderson, 26 years, with gunshot injuries to the body. He was rushed to the KHMH, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Information revealed that he was riding his bicycle in that area at the time when he was approached by a male person from behind who fired several shots, causing the fatal injuries to him.
The Anderson family has been left distraught, even though his brother says that they have come to accept that his past indiscretions have caught up with him.
We were not close. We had like problems with each other, but I still love him from a distance, you know. So a couple times people harass me for him, and I still don't take it out of him, you understand? Because out of every family, you always have a bad one. You, as a person, will choose a certain road. You pave your own road. So you number your own days on earth. And he wasn't listening. So if you don't honor your mother and your father, the Bible tells you, days will be short.
Regardless of, like what you said, okay, we're never close, whatever, it still hurt. Do you understand what I mean? So
how... call me in the morning, and I never expect it for me hurt me so much, you understand? Like, I get up and the whole tiles wet up with tears, you know? Never expect for dead. So quick, so young, you understand? I still thinking I have like years for hurt and things work out, cause a lot of people do stuff in their life and they end up change and they live to tell the tale, understand? So nowadays everything they get caught up quick, so young men out there need to choose one liberty, positive, because then, well, my mom, she know to take it easy right now, cause she know in the country right now at this moment, you understand? Then I have my next family on my past side when I take it easy neither.
Anderson's brother, in his interview, references this old adage.
Parents not for the bury child, child for bury parents, you understand?
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
The second murder in Hattieville on Saturday morning was execution style. Police were called out to an area about 100 yards away from the village's bus stop near the police station. There they found the body of 45-year-old Kenroy Danderson, who was reportedly sitting at the bus stop when a gunman took aim at him. A wounded Danderson ran from the bus shed but collapsed and died a few yards away. This morning, police were unable to confirm if the murders are related. Dwayne Moody has the following report.
Within minutes of the shooting death of Ronnie Anderson, as police processed the scene in the new site area of Hattieville, shots rang out near the bus shed about 100 feet away from the police station. In the grass lay the body of Kenroy Danderson. The Hattieville resident was targeted by a gunman who, despite the proximity of the station, carried out the broad daylight execution.
Around 10:20 a.m., police visited an area near the bus stop in Hattieville village, where they observed the motionless body of Kenroy Danderson, 45 years, with gunshot injuries. Information received that he was in that area waiting for a bus when he was approached from across the street by a male person who fired several shots at him, causing the fatal injuries. Again, investigation is ongoing into this matter.
Danderson is no stranger to the law. He lived several blocks away from where he was killed. As the echo of the blasts rippled through the village, residents would run out to find him dead on the ground. By then, the shooter was long gone. Police say that at this time, it cannot be ascertained whether the murder of Danderson is related to that of Anderson, which took place minutes earlier in the new site area of the village.
These murders 10 minutes apart, broad daylight in a small village. Are they related?
We are not sure if they are related at this time. Our investigation is ongoing at this time to determine if they are related.
Along with Crime Stoppers Belize, rewards are being offered for information on the weekend murders, including that of Danderson's. Police say that there is ongoing rivalry in the village, and information suggests that one of the shootings is a result of a prior incident of gun violence in Hattieville.
Is there a camera in the area, sir?
Yes, there are cameras in the area where the murder happened by the bus stop, and those are being reviewed at this time.
Sir, do we have any possible motive that you're working with?
Yes, we have several leads and information that we are following up upon for both murders.
Are you able to say if any of those leads are connected to drugs or gangs?
We know that one of them is connected to a previous incident, a previous shooting that had occurred in Hattieville. And then we are working to try and determine the motive for the second one.
Several persons have been detained in connection with this murder. Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Just after 3 o'clock this afternoon, the violence continued on the south side of the city. One man was shot in the vicinity of Violet Lane in the St. Martin de Porres area. The victim is a BDF soldier, Wayne Perry, who was rushed to the KHMH for treatment. Perry was riding his bicycle when he was approached by a gunman traveling on a motorcycle. The individual opened fire, hitting Perry multiple times in the abdomen and feet. As many as 8 expended shells were found on the scene of the shooting. After the break, the court hears an application by Lord Ashcroft to join the redistricting case. The redistricting case before Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin entered a new stage today when attorney for Lord Michael Ashcroft, Senior Counsel Andrew Marshallek, was allowed to present an application. That application was to seek the court's permission to join in the case brought on by the Belize Peace Movement against the Elections and Boundaries Commission, and by extension the government of Belize, to conduct a redistricting exercise of the 31 electoral divisions to close the disparity in the number of registered voters. In presenting the grounds, Marshallek argued that Lord Ashcroft is a citizen of Belize, has voted in past elections as a registered voter in the Fort George Division, has investments, and is interested in events that happen in Belize. Marshallek used as an example for his arguments the case of the churches, in which it was an interested party in the Unibam versus the Attorney General's office in the hearing over Section 53 of the Constitution. Marshallek says that on these bases, Ashcroft has shown sufficient reason to be allowed to take part in the case. The Elections and Boundaries Commission Chairman Doug Singh, through attorney Kileru Awich from the Attorney General's office, objected to Ashcroft's application on the grounds that up to present, Ashcroft is not a registered voter, that to have him join in the case would delay the timing of the disposal of the case, and that it would not do anything to assist the claimant's claim. Awich argued that if Lord Ashcroft is allowed to join in the case, then everyone in Belize, including those who are not eligible to vote, would then have a right to become an interested party in the case. Following the hearing, Chairman of the Belize Peace Movement, Bobby Lopez, told the media that they, the claimants in the case, have no qualms with Lord Ashcroft joining the case.
The Constitution should be important to all of us. Honestly, I have no objection against Mr. Ashcroft coming on board. We felt he came on board a little late, but let the court decide. Whether he comes on board or not, I believe the government side admitted that we have already put the facts to the case. We have our own experts and our own researchers who have gathered everything and put it to the court, so they know exactly, and they know that this is a clear-cut case, man. This is a violation of the Constitution, clear-cut. So we have to go and redistrict. We cannot go to an election the way the constituencies are set up. And so this message is honestly to both parties. As you notice in our case, there is an injunction that we have there that there shall be no next general election without redistricting. And that we're going to be pushing very hard, and we're calling on our social partners to come in and join us in this. This is not about politics, this is about a better Belize for everyone. But we felt that this initiative should be non-political, brought by any citizen. In fact, we would have loved to see the unions come on board as interested parties, the churches come on board, and other social partners, because this is about Belize, this is about our democracy. And the first pillar, we've been saying this from way back in 2005 when we produced a document called The Pillars of Democracy. The first pillar of strong democracy is the pillar of fair representation. And that starts with number one, a voters list that has integrity, that can be trusted. Number two, the redistricting being fair and in accordance with the Constitution. Now in 2012 we brought these issues to the forefront. In 2015 we attempted to take it to court, only it was too close to the 2015 election and it didn't get in. So this is not something we just started a year or two ago. We have been writing to the Elections and Boundaries for years. Same thing with campaign financing. This is the only group, those who have run before, that has produced, and you the media know, has produced a campaign finance report before, during our elections, a campaign, and after, so that the Belizean populace, the voters, could see how we spent our money, where we got it from, and we always challenge the parties, do the same, man. And so we call on other Belizeans, man, come forward and support this. This is the most historic case with regards to our democracy, with regards to getting it right, and then moving on to the next step of uniting our country, of becoming a productive country, and yes, eventually the last pillar of having social justice in this country, and not a culture of dependency where you have 50% of our people depending on that little pantry box to come. And so they bought the voters essentially. Look at what has come up. They have to be paying for it. They have said it themselves, paying for school fees, paying for electricity bills. So that's what has gotten them into this mess.
Meanwhile, attorney for the Belize Peace Movement, Arthur Saldivar, told the media that should the court determine that Lord Ashcroft joins in the case, it would not delay the trial, as the attorney for the defendants argued in court.
Insofar as anyone with an interest coming on board, that is a prerogative that they can exercise. Mr. Ashcroft is exercising his own prerogative. It has nothing to do with the peace movement. But at the end of the day, should he come on or don't, it doesn't affect us. The claim goes on. This is a claim brought by the movement, and they will continue to do it until it comes to its rightful conclusion. If he comes on, fine. If he doesn't, fine.
So it doesn't affect you, meaning it doesn't delay the matter either, as the attorney for the Attorney General's Ministry was trying to argue just now. It doesn't delay the process if they are allowed.
No, it doesn't delay the process because we will be seeking experts in any case. Upon case management, we will basically be making requests to have expert witnesses be brought on board. If those are readily available and Mr. Ashcroft brings them as a person joining as an interested party, fine. If it is that he has the interest to see that this goes the right way and he's not joined and he allows us to utilize his experts, better. So I have no problem. He has the experts, we need the experts, we will seek to have him one way or the other since he has expressed that interest.
Chief Justice Benjamin will rule on this application on February 18th at 2 p.m. The case of popular Belize City jeweler Manuel Pacheco started this morning before Supreme Court Justice Colin Williams. Pacheco, who lived on Cockburn Lane, is on trial for the murder of Jose Manuel Villanueva. Villanueva lived beside Pacheco's East Collett Canal jewelry shop and was shot multiple times shortly after 6 in the evening of June 14, 2018, during an argument between the two. The two men had been having a history of disputes since 2012 when they bought adjacent plots of land on East Collett Canal and became neighbors. The weapon that police had retrieved after the incident was Pacheco's licensed firearm. A jury of 12 will decide Pacheco's fate after the prosecution and defense are finished presenting their arguments. When we come back, a confrontation between two brothers ends in a stabbing in the city.
Company.
A confrontation between two brothers in Belize City ended in a stabbing over the weekend. The Howard brothers, Kirsten and Kirk Jr., are now recuperating after the unfortunate incident during which they stabbed each other. This morning, Kirk Jr. was released from police custody, while Kirsten remains hospitalized for stab wounds he received to the neck and arm. Kirk Jr. was stabbed once to the right thigh. News 5 found out that the Howard family was celebrating the birthday of an older sibling when a quarrel between the younger siblings led to the violent attack. Here's News 5's Dwayne Moody with this report.
Around 9:25 p.m., police visited the KHMH where they found Kirsten Howard and Kirk Howard with stab wound injuries. They are brothers. Information revealed that they were at an area when they got into a fight. One stabbed the other one. Thereafter, one of the other person took the knife away and inflicted stab wounds to the other one.
A birthday celebration at the Howard residence on Neil Penn Road Extension ended in a stabbing incident on Friday night. Kirsten and Kirk Howard Jr. were socializing when an argument ensued between the siblings. Arlene Howard says she was inside the house making supper when she heard the commotion. She later found out that the two had stabbed each other. Both were rushed to the KHMH, where Kirsten remains hospitalized, while Kirk Jr. was released into police custody.
They made a rumble outside, and they started to argue between the girlfriend. Well, one of the girlfriends sick, we were sick crazy, and that they made an argue after. They had one big argument after that, and they started to start whop up each other with board and stick and so and whatnot. Well, I don't know which one of them draw a knife because, as I say, I never say I'm inside because I'm a time for make I go and make supper, tea. So I go and I make my tea, and then I tell them, I say, what happened outside? They say, man, you don't have to worry about that because you don't know, we don't want you outside. So my next son, he locked the door and he said, I'm not going outside, but he come back outside to come get the smaller children if make them get inside. So after I'm getting get inside and thing and whatnot, they want to say like somebody, one of them get stabbed. Well, I think well, a minor thing, we never made a think well, something really they happen or something like that and whatnot. So we don't know. I don't know. So after that, I hear like they say, someone they said at home, they get a call and say that they have one of them in a hospital and one in a police station.
This morning after 10 o'clock, Kirk Jr. was released from custody. When we spoke with him, he told News 5 that he's not pressing charges against his brother and that he's disappointed about the way things ended. His mother, Arlene, says that this is the first time that a disagreement between the siblings escalated to this point.
I never made it think, well, that me going for like that. Because they always argue. Sometimes after a really simple game, kind of like play ball. And you know, argue and you know go far, nothing like that go far.
Just because they made take one drink?
Yes, they made take one sip because that my oldest son birthday and he me buy one when they call it bad man, and after that done he me done, but I guess they made drink more than one of them made drink more than one or something like that. And that maybe cause more the argument because they may really made take the drink.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
There is a second stabbing incident to report on tonight, which also occurred on Valentine's Day in Belize City. Rene Rangai was walking on Newtown Barracks when he was accosted by two men. One of the men grabbed Rangai from behind and stabbed him multiple times in the vicinity of the Mexican Cultural Institute. Even as he was knifed twice to the chest and once to the elbow, the other assailant robbed him of a gold-plated chain. His attackers then fled the scene and escaped. Rangai was transported to the Carlton Memorial Hospital, where he is in a stable condition. Police did not offer details on this incident at today's press briefing. 3 persons were injured in a traffic accident in Corozal Town. It happened this morning at around 5:30 at the northern entrance in the area of Santa Rita. A vehicle carrying 3 persons collided into a pole on the side of the road. The driver of the vehicle was trapped inside and had to be extracted by firefighters. He is currently receiving treatment. The condition of the 2 passengers has not been ascertained. The Department of Environment continues to investigate the damages to the barrier reef on February 9th when a yacht owned by U.S. billionaire investor Daniel Loeb dropped anchor on the reef. The vessel, named Samadhi, was caught on camera as its anchor wrapped around live corals at the reef near Long Key in the Lighthouse Reef Atoll. Today, a report by Bloomberg Green featured a statement by Loeb saying, quote, "As a lifelong surfer and someone who loves the ocean, I was horrified to hear about this incident in Belize. We promptly contacted the Belize Audubon Society, a conservation group, and are committed to working together to restore the reef." Unquote. Coming up after the break, a Santander employee drowns while attempting to cross the Belize River, but his family is suspicious. A St. Matthews resident is dead after he apparently drowned while attempting to cross the Belize River. Roy Greenidge, an employee of Santander, was heading home on Saturday afternoon and tried to swim across the river, but didn't make it. His family says that while the investigation is still underway and they are yet to receive the official cause of death, they have reasons to believe that he may have died under suspicious circumstances. Here's the story with Andrea Palanco.
Roy Kendrick Greenidge, a 29-year-old employee of Santander, reportedly drowned while swimming across the Belize River. According to reports, Greenidge finished working on Saturday afternoon sometime between 11:30 and 12 midday, and he was swimming across the river to get to the other side of the riverbank to head home, and that's when he died. An employee reportedly ran to help him, but he was pronounced dead on arrival at the Western Regional Hospital. But Greenidge's family doesn't believe that he simply drowned. They say that they suspect there may be more to his death.
We don't believe that, he just drowned. We believe that there's foul play in this, and we're really holding the Belmopan police force along with the Roaring Creek police force to really step up and do a thorough investigation. Knowing the person my brother was, he was a fit person. He was healthy. He was very active, and for him to just drown is kind of far-fetched. We're not saying that it's not possible, but we're just questioning the cause of his drowning.
Was he able to swim, Ms. Greenidge?
He was an excellent swimmer. He worked along with the tourists off-season from Santander, where he swam with tourists on the Key tours. He also had training while he was volunteer BDF to swim with his weapon and Bergen and shoes fully clothed. So he was not just a good swimmer. He was an excellent swimmer.
So why was Greenidge swimming across the river? Well, it's how the employees get to and from work at Santander, which is located behind More Tomorrow Village. Today, for instance, we're by the river where Greenidge drowned over the weekend. It's just before midday, and those men across the other side of the river are workers waiting to take the skiff. One by one, they pile into the skiff and are ferried over to the other side of the riverbank in 2 minutes or so. On this side of the bank, a work bus and their personal means of transportation are parked to take them home. This is routine for the workers, one that Greenidge knows well, having worked at Santander for the past 3 years. But on Saturday, when Greenidge was ready to head home, that boat was reportedly not around. That's according to police. His family, however, says that they were informed that the boat was there but refused to take Greenidge across the other side because he was alone, and that prompted his decision to swim across.
The riverside, there's a boat that is there to ferry workers to and from across that river. And that day, it is told to us that the boat did not want to take him over because he was by himself. This is what is being told to us, so we don't know if this is true. But either way, that boat was there to carry workers across that river. Apparently, that boat did not take my brother over. So the reason for him being in that water was not just because he wanted to swim over and couldn't swim over. He had no reason to just be in that water while there was a boat provided there. And the span of water, it's not that far. So it took less than 2 minutes or 3 minutes for that boat to reach each side. I'm just guesstimating time, So it's not something that you will say, he'll get tired of waiting and just decide to swim over.
So that boat was right there when he was drowning?
Yes. So to me, if this man that operates the boat seeing someone in the water drowning and knowing that that's an employee of that place, why didn't he rage for help? Why didn't he reach out? So for him to just say, he drowned? Just like that without any assistance, that, in itself is screaming to you something went wrong.
Did Roy maybe ever personally share with you if there's any, maybe a little argument, a problem at work, anything that bothered him at all there?
Well, in the past, he had shared with us he had shared with us that, you know, he had unrest with with another supervisor there and some of the other employees. You know, they even went to the point of sabotaging his transportation more than one time from there. You know.
So I would imagine that as well has made you guys think that, you know, there could be another explanation for what happened to him.
Definitely.
In our conversation with the family today, they noted that the post-mortem hasn't been conducted, so they haven't received an official cause of death, although they're told that it's suspected that Roy Greenidge drowned on Saturday. Today, police shared the official details as gathered by Roaring Creek cops when they were called out to the scene around 12:30 on Saturday afternoon.
What the police know so far is that shortly after midday, Mr. Greenidge reported off duty from Santander, where he is a tractor operator, where he proceeded to the riverside. There is usually a boat there that crosses them to the southern side of the river. However, upon his arrival alone, the vessel was not there and he apparently decided to swim across. Where some 15 feet into his swimming, he apparently was suffering some problems and he submerged underwater. One of his co-worker, one David Esquivel, who was coming a few minutes behind him, saw him struggling, and in the process he jumped into the water and swimming in order to try and rescue Mr. Greenidge. However, upon him getting to Mr. Greenidge, he was able to pull him back to the northern banks of the river where he was already motionless. He tried to perform CPR, but that was not able to revive Mr. Greenidge. Police have visited the area. Several statements have been recorded from those persons, and an investigation is ongoing at this time.
Roy Greenidge worked with Santander for 3 years as a seasonal worker. He was a tractor operator and was notified of a work promotion just a few weeks ago. His family says that he participated in a 3-day work training last week before he died on Saturday. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
Police are also investigating a domestic stabbing turned chopping that happened in Bamapan on Sunday night. Sometime around 8:30 that night, police were called to a house on Custard Apple Street, where they met 2 persons with stab wounds and another with chop wounds. Cops say that the aggressor is a man on whom there is a restraining order. ACP Joseph Maivek gives us the details of what happened.
Belmopan police responded to information of a misunderstanding or a dispute at Custard Apple Street in Belmopan City at the home of one Curlis Nunes. Upon the police's arrival, one Oren Nunes was observed outside of the fence yard with apparent chop wounds and was bleeding. What the police know so far is that Oren Nunes, who is separated from Curlis Nunes, had arrived at the yard sometime shortly after 8 p.m. armed with a knife, where he inflicted stab wounds to Curlis Nunes and her current common law husband Eric Mejia. And in the process of that, he was chopped. So all 3 persons were removed from there and taken to the Western Regional Hospital, where they are all admitted in stable condition at this point in time. And we do know that there is a protection order against Mr. Oren Nunes, who was the previous husband of Curlis Nunes. So police is investigating this matter at this time.
So now, if someone is injured while they're violating a restraining order, how is it handled in terms of how is culpability assessed?
There has to be the issue of justifiable force. So an investigation is ongoing at this point in time. We are not saying at this point that there will be any charges, other than to say that that will be determined on the outcome of the investigation.
James Adderley is up next with a report on the sporting activities.
With over 100
Our country, your bank.
Good evening. I'm James Adderley. Welcome to this Serving of Sports Monday. The National High School Football Tournament 2020 edition came to fruition inside the Marion Jones Sporting Complex, where both champions emerged on Saturday. We blast off with the male finals featuring the Belize High School of Agriculture in action against Mount Carmel High School. The Agricultural College rolled over Ladyville Tech 2-1 in the semis, while Mount Carmel edged Georgetown Tech in a one-zip blast to be here on center stage. Mount Carmel gets the kickoff in search of 2020 male championship. Of course, football demands some physicality, so Emerson Dardon takes down Brian Dominguez and gets away with it. In the meantime, this set piece launched by Leonardo Canola at goal almost produces the intended target as the Mount Carmel keeper Cesar Panti fails to handle the ball, but Mark Polanco bails him out. BHS Agriculture comes back with this pass from Alan Castillo to Zamir Bonilla, who did make enough contact with the ball, and maybe, just maybe, he deserved a penalty kick after this takedown from behind by Gideon Velasquez. So we go to second half action. Darren Magana goes to Alan Castillo, who deals to Zamir Bonilla, but the finish is lacking. Castillo then looks for a goal, only to be taken down inside the box. The penalty call is made, naturally. Menalio Novello, he gets the call, only to see goalkeeper Cesar Pante come up with a massive save at the end of the regulation. We're scoreless. Folks, we were in extra time when this monster left foot lands from Johan Tutt, crashes on the crossbar. Novello picks up the pieces but could not get the shot at goal. Hey folks, Gideon Ayala gets this chance to give Mount Carmel High the victory, only he misses the target from point-blank range. In late overtime play, Kaiser Tutt comes up with this magnificent hook that gives Mount Carmel High School the 2020 secondary schools football title in a 1-0 final. Hey, the celebration tells this story, and we say heartfelt congratulations to the winners. Of course, the loser has another chance next year. In the award ceremony, Kaiser Tutt, he walks away with MVP honors, and we say, you're big. Over on the female side, the battle for the title went into overtime to determine who would grab the W, but it all ended up in a scoreless draw between Corozal Community College and Belmopan Compre. After 14 penalty kicks, we come to sudden death. Marcia Ara steps up and slays Jalini Belail of Belmopan Comprehensive High School with this right foot punch. Corozal takes the title to El Norte in 2020. We say congratulations, you deserved it. Andre Campos of Corozal Community College, she stopped 6 penalties en route to the title and was voted the most valuable player. We say, girl, you're gone large. Best goalkeeper went to Jalini Belail of Compre, who stopped 5 penalties. She'll be back again. Rashani Narvaez of Compre takes home the Best Midfielder Award, while Marcia Ara of Corozal got the nod for the Best Defense. Say you're big. We say congratulations to one and all, and keep the faith. Now let's check in on the Orange Walk First Division football season, where we find Trinidad facing Augustine Pine Ridge FC. This corner kick by Alexis Tush gives Trinidad FC the first real opportunity to open the scoreboard. However, Hosegai cannot find the power to make it count, thereby allowing Carlos Garcia to head the ball out of danger. The two again combine their efforts for a goal, but this time Hosegai just misses the target. Alex Toss really should have given Trinidad the opening goal with this assist to Romney Castillo, only he misses from point-blank range. Augustine Pine Ridge finally displays some offense when Enrique Valdez fires this left foot that is collected by the Trinidad keeper. David Solano, he makes a perfect drop to Novello, who simply batches the shot. It's Alex Tosh's day to score. He comes up with a good shot, but it bounces over the crossbar. At the half, we do have a scoreless ball game and very little offense from Augustine Pine Ridge. That changes in the second half as Hosegai unleashes this good-looking floater that inches outside the sticks. Enrique Valdez then uses this set piece to aim at a goal for Augustine Pine Ridge. Goalkeeper Delmar Romero, he comes up with a really tough save, and he's forced to make a second save right after that when he reaches the loose ball first, and finally Romero gets possession. Trinidad looks to take back the game. David Solorzano aims at goal, and the bounce almost beat the goalkeeper Romero. Just when Trinidad thinks they have a goal, the would-be goal scorer Trevelyan Martinez, he is blown for the offside. David Solorzano, he fires a bullet at goal but misses the target from close range. Trinidad could steal the victory off this corner kick from Alex Tosh. The header by Trevelyan Martinez finds only the side netting. Both ball clubs would have to settle for a scoreless draw. We invite you back same time, same place next week. Ja over all. I'm James Adderley.
Sports Monday was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, good night.